What's up, you guys? In today's video, I'm going to talk about my experience working remote in Lisbon, Portugal. So you might have heard about Portugal a lot because a lot of people are talking about it online for the last couple of years. It's like one of the best places for digital nomads to live, especially if you work remote or if you work in tech or something like that. And I wanted to see what all the hype was about, right? So I went to Portugal on a little vacation just to inspect the vibe, see what it's like. I'm going to share all my findings and if it's a good place to move to potentially, or at least live in for a few months, or even visit. So the reason I chose Lisbon is because the weather is incredible in Lisbon. If you've ever been to California or Southern California, if you're there in the summertime, it literally feels like LA, San Diego. It's blue skies, it's mountains, it's pretty dry, there's beautiful beaches, a lot of stuff to do. And also there's a ton of history, there's a ton of old buildings. It's really cool to see like the mix of the old and the new, because obviously we're in 2024, but everything is still like very old, but they don't completely change the buildings. They keep the integrity of it all, which is really nice to view. On top of that, the cost of living and the cost of things are very cheap for people visiting there typically. So for people who actually are from Portugal, you know, it's normal prices. And that's one of the problems with a lot of foreigners moving into Portugal, is that it's increasing the costs of the apartments and things like that. But that's partly to blame from their government and not necessarily us, because they've been encouraging foreigners to come to spend more money and boost the economy and stuff like that. So those are two real problems. But in terms of someone who wants to travel to Lisbon, Portugal, or any part of Portugal in general, you'll find that things are extremely cheap. All right, so one of the best things about Portugal has to be the price of things. Cost of living here is very low, especially compared to United States. Like I ordered a meal, the whole thing I paid 20 euros, but I kind of dined out, right? Like my I had like a grilled chicken with rice and a salad, and then I had a mojito, 2 alcohol, and then I also had like a coffee, and then I also got a dessert, which was like this fruit cup, and all that together was 20 euros. And another thing is that like in Europe in general, there isn't a tipping culture and taxes included. So I literally just paid 20 euros flat for all that stuff. So my experience when I went there, Portuguese people were really nice. Almost everyone spoke English, which is really cool because of course I don't know Portuguese. I know some simple stuff like some greetings. I know how to say, you know, talk about the beach and stuff like that, like praia. But I don't know the details. I can't ask really complex questions or get into the nuances of topics that I want to get into. So one of the great things about Lisbon, in my opinion, is that a lot of people spoke English. So if you're there, you want a quick trip, like that's something you definitely do not have to worry about. One of the cool things about Portugal actually is that they're trying to market themselves as like a digital nomad, kind of like tech center, because they want to increase the jobs there for the tech sector and things like that. So there's actually a lot of other digital nomads and people working remotely there. So if you want to get involved in the community, meet some people, this is a great place to do it, because you know cost of living is lower, the weather is great, people generally are in a good mood, and you can connect with other foreigners and other even locals who are in the tech sector. So there's so many different co-living spaces out there, and also co-working spaces. Some of the bigger ones are outside Selena, and these are places where you can live with different people. It's kind of like a hotel / hostel, so you can have your own room and it's kind of luxurious, and they have these huge workspaces where you can work with other people and socialize. Honestly, I love these services, because if you go someplace alone, one of the most important things you're going to be worried about is access to fast internet, like a stable location with fast internet, someone you can ask questions to. At both of these places, there's like a front desk person who can answer local questions. They also speak English. And the third thing is you might get lonely, right? You want to meet some other people who are in the same situation as you, or to hang out with after the end of the day. So if you go to these kind of co-living, co-working spaces, it's a great place to meet some other people there. I will say after the pandemic, some of the prices, I'm not sponsored, right, by any of these places, but some of the prices have gone up extremely by a lot, you know, for outside and Selena. So I don't know if it's still a good option. When I went to Portugal this time, I actually just stayed in a hotel. I'm actually lucky enough that I have a friend who lives in Portugal. So when I was there, he was able to show me around. And when I wasn't with him those days, I was able to just explore on my own, go to the beach pretty much, check out different restaurants. And then, you know, I was good, right? So yeah, ton of different things to do. I would say Portugal is a good location if you want that experience, but you don't want to be put too much out of your comfort zone. Getting around is another concern for people when they go to a new country, because you want to know what the process is like. Does it have Uber? Are the trains good? Like, what's the vibe, right? Like, are you going to feel unsafe at nighttime? And I can confirm that in Lisbon, super easy to get around. One, Ubers are so cheap. It's crazy. Like, I used to go to the beach. I was in the city center. I went to the beach, which is kind of like a 45-minute to an hour drive away, and I would take an Uber, and it was only about 15 or 20 euros for like an hour drive to the beach. Whereas in New York City, if I wanted an hour drive like that, that would probably be like $100. There's like a train system. It's super clean, super efficient. Just like you tap your Apple Pay or your card, and that's your entry into the train system. So yeah, transportation is a very simple thing when you're out in Lisbon. So for this last part right here, I brought out my handy computer, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't have a ton of experience with this, but I've done a lot of research because I did consider living in Portugal for a bit. So living in Portugal is actually not that difficult to do. You know what I mean? So depending on what career you're in and what your background is, there's a few different options, and the Portuguese government has made it even easier for foreigners, Americans, Canadians to move to Portugal, right? So there's different options for short-term stay versus long-term stay. There's a visa called the digital nomad visa where you can live in Portugal for up to a year, and you can extend it for up to 5 years. And then after that, you can apply for permanent residency. There's another visa called the D7 visa if you have passive income. This is geared towards people who have businesses or like an online business, or if you're retiring. So there's a lot of different ways to get into Portugal. And it's a great place to start if you want to begin your journey into being European, getting the citizenship, and then living in different parts of Europe. I would say it's definitely one of the easier countries to get access into first, so you can move on to somewhere else. I don't know, maybe you want to live in Ireland one day or Spain, right? So coming through Portugal is a great way to do it. But I will say something that Portugal gets a lot of flack for in the forums, online, on Reddit, I see it all the time, is bureaucracy. Their style is kind of in the past. A lot of things are done with paperwork. They're not very like online savvy with the government forms. A lot of things have to be mailed in. You don't get it back, or you don't hear anything back for like 6 months. So that's something I hear a lot about, the bureaucracy. But there's a bunch of different groups. I'll link some in my bio below for Americans who want to move to Portugal, with a lot of different experiences from other people, and they share all that stuff. Like I said earlier, I haven't done it yet, so I don't really know what it's like, but I've definitely done a lot of research, and it's something I might consider for the future. All right, thank you for watching the video. If you guys like what you saw, make sure to leave a comment down below, make sure to like it, make sure to subscribe, make sure to do all that stuff. This was actually my 3rd time going to Portugal, but this time I wanted to make a little video about my experience, what it's like, because before I go to a foreign place, I always want to scope what the vibe is like. Is it going to be safe? Is it a place that I can rely on, especially if I have to work during the time that I'm there? So hopefully this video can provide some context, a little bit of help if you're thinking of going to Portugal soon to work remotely, or even like live there temporarily, potentially long term. So yeah, if you guys like this video, stick around for more stuff, leave some comments, subscribe, all that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.